On my son's birthday, he asked for an incredible gift that revealed my hidden love, discovering how to fish again. Mike felt the pit in his stomach tighten as Jason, with his bright, eager eyes, burst into the living room. "Dad!" he exclaimed, bubbling over with excitement. "Can we go fishing for my birthday?" A wave of nostalgia washed over Mike, a time when his own father had cast a line into sparkling waters, laughter filling the air. But such memories felt like distant dreams now, lost beneath the weight of bills and late-night shifts. How could he afford rods and bait, let alone time to teach Jason about the gentle art of fishing? As he watched Jason flip through a fishing magazine, Mike's heart sank. Memories of sun-drenched afternoons at the pond blended sorrowfully with his financial worries. He pictured disappointment creeping into Jason's eyes if he couldn't make this day special. But hope flickered in his chest, a longing to reclaim that bond with Jason, to pass on the lessons his father had imparted. The tight-knit community where they lived was special. Neighbors often came together to help one another. Just as Mike was spiraling deeper into worry, a knock broke through his thoughts. Mary, from next door, stood at the door holding a fishing rod in one hand and a tackle box in the other. "Heard it's a special day for the little guy," she smiled, her warmth radiating through the chill in Mike's heart. Mike felt a rush of gratitude, a need to embrace the kindness swirling within their community. It inspired him to think of other neighbors who might pitch in, lending a rod or some bait. As plans solidified for Jason's fishing trip, dark clouds gathered in the sky, disconcerting Mike. They weren't just weather-related, they echoed his doubts and fears. Just as he feared the storm's downpour might cancel everything, Jason clutched his tablet. "Dad, I thought it would be fun to invite some friends." Each word cut deeper, igniting a wave of anxiety. Could he juggle others' expectations along with his own? Arriving at the pond, the oppressive clouds loomed like a foreshadowing shadow. Children's laughter floated around him, mixed with the smell of fresh-cut grass and the cool breeze off the water. He felt the weight of his responsibilities, but also the love in every chuckle around him. As they settled, Mike reminded himself that today's adventure was far more than just casting lines. It was about connection, resilience amid challenges. Just as he cast his line into those murky waters, his heart pounded in rhythm with the thunder. Each clap echoed his internal questions. Could he truly reclaim the fatherly moments he once cherished? Would Jason understand that the greatest gift Mike could give him wasn't just the thrill of fishing, but also the love rooted in their struggles together? As the first raindrops began to fall, Mike stood at the edge of uncertainty, ready to fight for that bond.
Would he rise to meet his son's needs, embracing both joys and failures like the currents of the water? Or would the storm wash away his hopes, leaving him to question if he could ever drag himself back into the light of fatherhood? With every passing moment, the air crackled not just with anticipation of rain, but with the promise of unforgettable memories waiting to unfold. The storm broke loose just as Mike felt the first tremor of hope. Raindrops plummeted, splattering against the water's surface, each one rippling like a tiny wave of uncertainty. Jason's laughter echoed, a sound so pure that even the ominous skies couldn't dampen it. The other kids quickly scattered, some finding cover, while others squealed with delight, reveling in the sudden adventure. "Come on, Dad, let's get going." Jason tugged at Mike's arm, his eyes alight with energy that was impossible to resist. "We can fish under cover." With a nod, Mike forced a smile, hiding the tempest brewing inside him. As they scurried under the shelter of a nearby tree, Mike unboxed the old tackle Mary had lent him. Every piece of equipment felt like a talisman from a past he thought he had lost. "Do you think there are any fish out here?" Jason asked, peering into the murky water. His voice was full of wonder, as if every drop was a universe waiting to be explored. "Absolutely. They just wait for the right moment," Mike replied, hoping his enthusiasm didn't sound too hollow. He could feel the tension in his shoulders easing just a bit. As he watched as Jason set his bait with earnest concentration, the boy's small hands clumsily maneuvered the hook, but every movement radiated determination. Mike felt a flicker of pride. This was the connection he had longed for, the simple sharing of time and experience that could bridge the chasm of doubt threatening to engulf him. With a quick glance at the sky, Mike took a deep breath, letting the cool air fill him. It was time to focus on the moment, to cherish the here and now. All right, buddy, remember what I taught you. Patience is key. As they cast their lines into the murky abyss, Jason squealed every time a ripple stirred, his joy lifting the weight from Mike's heart. The rain dripped down, but laughter soared high above it. Mike's worries about expectations faded, replaced by the beauty of fatherhood reawakening in unexpected circumstances. Suddenly, Jason's line twitched. "Dad, I think I got one!" Mike's heartbeat accelerated as he rushed to his son's side, the fear of failure flickering at the edges of his mind. But then he took a deep breath, letting excitement wash over him. "Reel it in slowly." Jason's face lit up, determination etched in his brow. Each tug on the line made Mike's heart race, adrenaline surging as they anticipated the mystery that lay beneath the water. Moments later, Jason let out a triumphant shout as they pulled a fish from the depths, shimmering with drops of rain like silver. "I caught my first fish!"
His joy was infectious, echoing like a sweet melody through the trees. Mike couldn't help but smile, a warmth flooding through him as he watched Jason. In that instant, he realized that the storm outside had transformed into a beautiful canvas of family and memories. It didn't matter that the skies were gray. What mattered was the bond they were forging, the trust slowly rebuilding. Yet, as Jason held up the wriggling fish, pride shining bright in his eyes, Mike felt a pang of something deeper. Could he keep this moment from vanishing like echoes of laughter? All around them, other kids were packing their gear, ready to leave. "Should we join them?" Mike asked, though his heart wasn't ready to let go of this moment. He feared that once they left, the thread connecting them might snap under the weight of reality, the bills, the late shifts, the frailties that lingered in the shadows. "No way! This is the best day ever! We can't leave yet! Let's catch more!" Jason pleaded, pulling on Mike's arm, not ready to step back into the mundane just yet. Mike looked at his son, recognizing the importance of this day. The sun might be hidden behind clouds, but the joy in Jason's eyes lit the way forward. As they settled again, lines cast into the water, Mike knew that today was just the beginning. Would they reel in more than just fish? Would the struggles ahead feel less daunting with the bond they were reclaiming? Before he could contemplate further, the rain softened and a surprising curl of sunlight peeked through the clouds. It felt like a sign, an invitation to dig deeper into the love he had hidden for so long. A new determination grew inside him. Today marked not just a birthday, but a turning point. What awaited as they continued to navigate the choppy waters of fatherhood together? The weather seemed to shift right along with their spirits. As the sunlight broke through, it lit up the area, casting a golden haze that transformed the moment into something magical. Mike felt the weight on his chest lighten, just as Jason let out a giggle and attempted to coax a few more fish from the depths. "Look, Dad, if I wiggle the bait just right, I can charm them," Jason exclaimed, wiggling the rod with youthful abandon. "Charm away, champ," Mike encouraged, laughing along. Each moment was like a tiny miracle, and with every gleeful shout from Jason, a new spark ignited in his heart. Here they were, two souls cast adrift in the middle of a storm that somehow felt more like an adventure now. Minutes passed, filled with Jason's excited chatter. "What will we name the fish?" he mused, mind racing with childish whimsy.
How about Flippy? Or maybe Mr. Wiggly Boombox? Both sound like winners to me, Mike chuckled. In that silly moment, he felt a warmth spreading through him, as though the laughter was a lifeline, pulling him closer to a version of himself he had almost forgotten.
Under the tree, the rain finally ceased, and the world around them slowly transformed. The rhythmic sound of droplets faded, replaced by the gentle rustle of leaves and the chirping of birds returning to life. Time seemed to stand still. As they fished, a moment of quiet fell over them. Jason, ever curious, glanced up at his father. "Dad, why do you look so happy?" His innocent question cut straight through to Mike's heart. "Because, buddy," he started, choosing his words carefully, "there's nothing better than a day like this with you. It reminds me how important it is to be together." The boy nodded seriously, as if he understood that this wasn't just about the fish. "So we can have more days like this, right?" "Yes, more days like this. That's the plan," Mike replied, his voice thick with promise. Just then, Mike's phone buzzed in his pocket. The reality of their lives crashed back in an instant as he pulled it out. Chores lined up for days ahead, bills to pay, the looming tasks that seemed to gather like storm clouds once again. He hesitated for a moment, the sunlight fading slightly around him as he wrestled with the thoughts inside. "Who's that?" Jason asked, peering with innocent curiosity at the device in his dad's hand. "Oh, just some work stuff," Mike mumbled, stuffing the phone back into his pocket. "Not important right now." "But I want to know," Jason insisted playfully, as if trying to pry his dad's attention back from the real world. "Trust me, it can wait. Right now, your catch is the biggest deal," he grinned, forcing a lightness he didn't fully feel. Wasn't it ironic? Here he was finding joy in today, while the worries of tomorrow crept at the edges. "Okay, let's go for another fish." With a renewed burst of energy, they cast their lines again. Seconds stretched to minutes as they laughed, talked, and even sang silly songs about fish. Mike found himself more invested in the joy of the moment than he ever thought possible. Just when he thought the bond couldn't grow stronger, Jason turned suddenly and asked, "Dad, do you think Mom would have liked this?" The question hung in the air like a distant rain cloud, bringing a quick fog over Mike's heart. He swallowed hard, a lump forming in his throat. Of course she would have loved it. Memories of Mary slipped into the space between them, her laughter, her dreams for their family, the easy way she made life seem brighter. "I wish she was here," Jason whispered, and Mike's heart cracked open. "Me too, son. Me too." In that moment, Mike realized that while the laughter and joy enveloped him, the absence of Mary would always be a part of their tapestry. And yet, here they were, carving new threads despite the loss. "Let's not think about that now," Mike proposed, determined to steer his son's spirit back to brighter shores. "Let's make this the best day ever without holding back." Reeling in their lines again, they prepared for another cast. Just as they did, a shadow caught Mike's attention, a figure nearby watching with a smile, a familiar face. "Hey, isn't that Mr. Thompson?" Mike squinted against the sun, but before he could get a clearer look, Jason suddenly tugged on his line. "Dad, I think I really got something this time." As Mike rushed to his side, a new bout of exhilaration washed over them. But would this day lead to new surprises, new connections, or would reality come crashing back in a way they both weren't ready to face? Jason's excitement bounced off the air as he yanked the rod upright, his laughter echoing through the clearing. As Mike knelt beside him, a sense of urgency sparked in his chest. "All right, reel it in, buddy. Let's see what you've caught." With wide eyes brimming with anticipation, Jason turned his focus to the water. The line pulled tight, and the boy's face twisted with concentration. "Is it a big one, Dad? I can feel it." "Let's find out," he urged, each heartbeat sinking with Jason's hope. But before the water unveiled its secret, a voice called out from behind them. "Hey there, do you need a hand?" Mike turned, finding Mr. Thompson making his way through the trees, a brown bag in tow. The friendly face, an old neighbor and occasional fishing partner, brought with him a wave of nostalgia. "Just came to see if the fish were biting, and I thought maybe you two could use some snacks," he said, a smile lighting up his weathered face. "Oh, hey, Mr. Thompson," Jason chirped, waving excitedly. "I think I've got a fish on the line." As Mike nodded, stepping aside to let Mr. Thompson view the spectacle, an overwhelming sense of warmth filled him. It felt good to have someone familiar here, someone who could share in their small moment of joy. Yet a part of him also felt anxious about how deeply the past had woven him into the fabric of their lives and how it would influence today. "What kind of fish are we trying to catch?" Mr. Thompson asked, dropping the bag onto the grass and fishing out 2 granola bars. "Big ones!" Jason exclaimed, continuing his battle with the line. "Like Flippy and Mr. Wiggly Boombox." Mr. Thompson chuckled, looking at Mike. "Those must be some impressive fish. Seems like your son has quite the imagination." As Jason pouted in embarrassment over his innocent remarks, Mike felt a pull of nostalgia. It was moments like this that made everything feel almost whole again, a feeling that had been missing for so long. "It's his birthday today, just a day of fun, trying to make some memories." Mr. Thompson nodded knowingly, the warmth in his eyes turning serious. "I'm proud of you, Mike. You're doing a good job raising him." The compliment resonated. A quick rush through Mike's mind reminded him of the nights spent worrying whether he was enough. He smiled. "Thanks. Just trying to keep things on track." Suddenly, a great splash broke through the banter as Jason lost his grip momentarily. The fish had leaped out of the water, shimmering in the sun before diving back down. A split second later, Jason squealed with delight. "Did you see that, Dad? I almost lost it." "Keep reeling. You got this," Mike encouraged, adrenaline rising. But just as Jason struggled to maintain his hold, the familiar shadow of heaviness returned. Could one day erase the days spent mourning? Could laughter really conquer the echoes of loss? Was it too much to hope for a renewed spirit for both of them? "Dad, help!" Jason pleaded. Mike swallowed his doubts and took a firm grip on Jason's hands. "On 3, we lift together, okay? 1, 2, 3! With immense effort, they pulled, and a silver fish burst out of the water, flipping wildly in the air before falling back. Cheers erupted from both Jason and Mr. Thompson. In that pulse of exhilaration, at that thrilling moment, Mike realized he was outnumbered by hope and happiness, at least for now. "All right, let's try again," Mr. Thompson said, his enthusiasm contagious. And as they prepared to cast again, Mike stole a glance at his son, full of life and laughter. How far they'd come, yet how far they still had to go. "Hey, Dad, if we catch it, what should we name this one?" Jason asked, his innocence bringing another swell of warmth to Mike's heart. Before he could answer, Mr. Thompson interrupted. "How about Hope? It suits the occasion." Just as laughter enveloped them once more, something flickered in the trees off to the side, a fleeting silhouette that made Mike pause. He squinted, curiosity urging him forward. "Did you see that?" he asked, heart racing. But when he turned back to Jason, he caught the unmistakable glimmer of joy in his boy's eyes, the kind that made every worry drift away for just a moment. "Come on, Dad, let's catch that fish," Jason exclaimed, and Mike's heart surged with renewed purpose. "Okay, champ, let's make this day unforgettable." But what was that haunting shadow? Was it something or someone waiting to change everything once again? Jason's enthusiasm spilled over, a mix of determination and innocence that drove Mike to push his own worries aside. He smiled at his son, the laughter from moments before echoing in his mind. "Let's do this," he said, ready to cast another line into the water. As Jason readied himself, Mike found his gaze drifting back toward the trees where that fleeting shadow had caught his eye. A part of him wanted to dismiss it, to shake off any lingering unease, but another part, a much darker part, couldn't help but linger on the possibility that something was watching them. "Dad, are we going to catch Hope or what?" Jason's voice broke through the haze of Mike's thoughts, urgent and hopeful. "Right, let's focus," Mike said, shaking his head clear. With a toss of the line, the lure splashed into the shimmering surface of the lake. The sun glinted off the water like scattered diamonds, a picture-perfect day.
He couldn't let the shadows of the past overshadow this moment. "Now we wait," Jason said, sitting back on the bank, eyes locked on the water. Mike could see the determination reflected in his son's face, a mini version of himself filled with wonder. Moments passed as they sat in silence, the only sound the gentle ripple of water kissing the shore and the soft rustling of leaves. Mike stole a glance at Mr. Thompson, who had taken a seat nearby, munching on a granola bar and smiling like he held a world of wisdom in his weathered hands. "What's your secret to catching fish, Mr. Thompson?" Jason asked, breaking the quiet, his voice a melody of curiosity. "Patience, kiddo, and a sprinkle of good luck," Mr. Thompson replied, eyes twinkling. "But having the right bait helps too." Jason pondered that for a moment. "So we need to make sure we have lucky fish names," he said, biting his lip to hold back another giggle. "Exactly. You can't underestimate the power of good names," Mr. Thompson chuckled. Just as the laughter bubbled up between them again, a loud snap broke through the tranquility. A branch cracked, loud enough to startle Mike. The shadow re-emerged, clearer this time, darting in and out of the trees. It was too fast to make out any details, but it felt wrong, unsettling. "Dad, what's wrong?" Jason's gaze shifted from the water to Mike, sensing the change in atmosphere. "Nothing, just—" Mike started, but the words caught in his throat. Should he share his uneasiness with his son when he was so caught up in the moment? "I think I saw something moving over there," Jason said, pointing toward the shadowy edge of the forest. "Probably just a deer," Mike replied, hoping it sounded reassuring. They had seen deer before on trips like this. Yet as he shifted his focus back toward the trees, doubt settled in. "Come on, let's see if we can scare it out." Jason jumped to his feet, excitement reigniting in his eyes. Let's just focus on fishing for now, buddy," Mike said, not wanting to dampen his son's spirit, but equally reluctant to chase after an elusive figure that sent a chill down his spine. "Yeah, okay." Jason sat down again, though he could see that his eagerness was still palpable. "Maybe after we catch Hope," Mike relented, watching the twinkle in Jason's eye grow brighter. Just then, the line tugged fiercely, pulling them back into the moment. "Dad, it's happening!" With all his energy, Mike made sure Jason was ready, their hearts racing together. But as they reeled in, he couldn't shake the feeling that something lingered just beyond the trees, waiting for the perfect moment. "What if we catch it, Dad? What if it's really big?" Jason exclaimed, reeling with all his might, the line taut with anticipation. As the surface of the water began to boil and surge, Mike's heart raced, but there was still that shadow flickering on the edge of his mind, whispering fears. "Hang on, Jason, this could be it!"
But before Jason could respond, the pull on the line disappeared, leaving only stillness in its wake. "Wait, where'd it go?" Jason whimpered, disappointment washing over him. "Maybe it was too strong?" Mike offered, but he felt a bite of dread. Jason looked up at him, eyes wide and searching. What if it was something else? Mike opened his mouth to reply, but the words wouldn't come. What if they were just beginning to unravel something way deeper than a fishing trip? It was in that suspended moment that a strange rustling erupted from the trees. Mike's heart dropped again, urgency growing with each passing second. Whatever had startled him before was back, and this time it felt closer. "Jason, stay close," he whispered, the tension tightening his chest. Then he saw it, just for a fleeting moment, clearer than before and full of possibilities. "What is it, Dad?" Confusion creeping into his voice. "Just stay right here." As the silhouette stepped from the trees, shadows fled with it, and Mike realized this birthday could forever change what they thought was possible. You're gonna want to see this. But could they handle whatever was about to come out of the dark? The figure stepped into the open, a blend of brown and gray fur glinting in the midday sun. It was a magnificent buck, antlers rising like crown jewels above its head. Jason gasped, eyes wide with awe, completely captivated. "Dad, look at that!" he squealed, excitement bubbling over like a fizzy drink. Mike's heart raced for a different reason.
The beauty of the deer was astonishing, but it also heightened his unease. This wasn't just a fishing trip anymore. This moment was bleeding into something unseen, something he felt lurking just beyond the tree line. The buck stood still, nostrils flaring as it surveyed the two of them. It was almost as if it sensed their energy, hesitating on the edge of trust. In that spellbinding silence, Jason crept forward, inching through the tall grass. "Jason, wait, come back!" But the kid was oblivious to his father's warning, moving silently, a natural instinct guiding him towards the wild creature. Mike's instinct was to shout, to run forward and grab Jason, but he was frozen in place, mesmerized. "Look, it's not scared or anything," Jason whispered, barely audible, as if speaking too loud would ruin the magic of the encounter. The buck seemed to sense Jason's gentle spirit, eyes softening as if realizing the boy was no threat. It took a cautious step forward, still wary but clearly curious. "Stay still," Jason urged, his voice serious. A part of Mike swelled with pride. His son had such a gift, an ability to connect with creatures, to embrace the wild without fear. But then the movement in the trees caught Mike's eye again, a rustle followed by a low growl. The hairs on his neck prickled as a shadow flickered once more. "Jason, seriously," Mike began, but Jason interrupted him, not taking his eyes off the buck.
"Dad, look! It's like it's trying to tell me something!" Before Mike could respond, the tension escalated. The buck abruptly turned, its body poised and ready to flee. Jason, still kneeling, looked confused, glancing back at his father. "What's wrong?" "Dad, why is it scared? Is it us?" "No, it's something else," Mike said, knowing instinctively that whatever was lurking in the shadows was a threat that felt far more real than a simple animal encounter. Just then, the shadow stepped into the sunlight, a huge, primordial creature with matted fur and eyes that glinted with an unnatural intelligence. It looked like something out of a nightmare. "Get behind me, Jason!" Mike shouted, the urgency clawing at him. But Jason was rooted in place, eyes wide, mixed with curiosity and fear, completely entranced by the spectacle in front of him. "Dad, what is that?" "I don't know, but we need to go, now." Suddenly, the deer bolted into the woods, frightened away by the presence of this unknown entity. Jason's smile faded, replaced by bewilderment. "Is it dangerous?" he whispered, clinging to Mike's side. "I don't know, but we have to stay close. We need to get back to the car." The strangeness in the air thickened, the atmosphere humming with tension, threatening everything Mike had tried to protect in this moment. As they started to backtrack, Mike risked a glance over his shoulder. The creature was still watching them, its eyes boring into Mike's soul, as if measuring their worth. "Dad, do you think it knows us?" Jason's innocent question fell like a stone into the stillness, heavy and resonant. "We don't want to find out," Mike replied, a lump forming in his throat. The feelings clashing in him, fear, protectiveness, and an eerie sense of being drawn into whatever this was, left him reeling. "Should we call for help?" Jason asked, looking up with concern as they slowly retreated toward their gear. "Not yet," Mike said, more to himself than to Jason. "Not until we're safe." Yet as they made their way back, every rustle in the woods echoed loudly, a warning. A thought flickered through Mike's mind. What if this was more than just a creature? What if it was tied to something from his own past, something he had tried so hard to leave behind? Just then, Mike caught sight of Jason, his child's eyes wide with confusion and a hint of fear. "Dad, do you think we're going to be okay?" The sweetness of that question crushed Mike's heart. "I hope so, buddy, but we need to stick together." Behind them, the dark figure melded back into the forest, and for a fleeting moment, Mike thought he saw a flash of recognition in its gaze, a familiarity he didn't understand. "What's next?" Jason asked softly. "I don't know, Jason, but I think it's going to be a long day."
The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the gravel path, and as they hurried along, Mike wondered what else was waiting in those woods, if they were only beginning to uncover a story much deeper than a fishing trip. The woods had grown thick with twilight by the time Mike and Jason neared the edge of the clearing. Shadows danced around them, stretching in exaggerated forms under the dying rays of sunlight. Anxiety pooled in Mike's gut as he quickened his pace, the urgency of the unseen presence weighing heavily on his shoulders. "Dad, are we almost there?" Jason's voice was a fragile thread amidst the encroaching darkness, laced with the innocence of a child who still believed in safety. "Just a few more steps, buddy," Mike reassured, bending slightly to communicate more directly with his son. Masking his own unease, he offered a smile he hoped was calming. The forest felt alive. Sounds whispered secrets on the wind. Mike wanted to shake off the feeling that they were being watched. They had retreated far enough, but the unease clung to him like morning mist. Every rustle felt like a beckoning call, not just the wild, but something deeper. What did that creature want? Suddenly, Jason stopped, tugging at Mike's sleeve. Can we come back again tomorrow to see the deer?" Tomorrow? The thought startled Mike. They would be lucky to escape this day unscathed. But looking into Jason's eager eyes, he couldn't bear to crush that spark of wonder. "Maybe someday." The words felt inadequate, but he needed Jason to understand there were more pressing matters at hand. A low growl cut through the air, vibrating with a primal echo that sent chills darting down Mike's spine. The hairs on his arms stood at attention. Blind panic momentarily paralyzed him, but he pressed on, pulling Jason along. "Come on, let's move faster." But Jason stood rooted again, staring back towards the trees, his eyes glazed with fascination. "Dad, I want to see what it is." "No, Jason." Mike's voice was sharper than intended. He turned to face the shadows creeping closer, his heart racing against the encroaching dark. "Why are you afraid?" Jason's question hung in the air, innocent and betraying an understanding far beyond his years. Because some things in the wild are dangerous," Mike responded, struggling to keep his voice steady. "I promise we'll come back, but we need to get home safe first." A flicker passed through Jason's expression. Disappointment? Understanding? It was hard to tell. Mike knew it was unfair, but he was terrified of what lay hidden in the woods. Just as they took another cautious step, a loud crash resonated from behind them. Both of them jumped, adrenaline rushing into every corner of their bodies, invigorating and terrifying. The creature burst through the underbrush, charging. Its immense size dwarfed everything around it, dark eyes fixated on them. "Run!" Mike shouted, urgency ricocheting through him.
They sprinted back the way they came, the crackling twigs and rustling leaves echoing their frantic steps. The beast pursued them, thundering footfalls drumming a wild rhythm of impending doom. "Dad, it's coming!" Jason yelped, gripping Mike's hand tighter. "I know," Mike gasped, pushing past every fear to keep Jason moving. Each stride felt like an eternity, but they had to keep the momentum. They couldn't let whatever hunted them catch up. They burst into the gravel path, a sudden relief flooding Mike's senses as the open space met them. But he dared not slow down, glancing over his shoulder. The creature had stopped at the tree line, its dark shape still visible, watching. "Are we safe?" Jason panted, collapsing into a crouch, breathless. "For now," Mike said, kneeling beside him, trying to catch his own breath. He searched Jason's face for any sign of fear, but it was there again, that glint of curiosity and wonder, the edge of bravado that kept his spirit uncrushed. "Do you think it will follow us?" Jason asked, voice trembling slightly, but full of that same innocent determination. "I don't know," Mike replied, staring into the woods where they felt stitched together by mystery and dread. Just then, the dark figure moved closer again, standing on the edge of the trees. Instead of charging, it merely watched them. Waiting. The enormity of what lay ahead struck Mike hard. What did this mean? "I think we need to find out," Jason whispered, a hint of excitement mixing with his fear. "Not right now," Mike whispered back, protective instincts surging through him. But deep down, he knew this was just the beginning, a thread being pulled into something far greater than either of them could predict. "Let's just get to the car for now," he said, pushing off the ground, hope mixing with dread. As they moved forward, a question burned in Mike's mind. Was this adventure starting to uncover the truth about things long buried, and perhaps the roots of his own past? The gravel crunched beneath their hurried footsteps as Mike and Jason moved past the boundaries of the trees and into the open space. A rush of mixed emotions surged through Mike: relief, fear, unsettled curiosity. Jason glanced up, his small face reflecting a mixture of exhilaration and apprehension. "Dad, what do you think it was?" he asked, wide-eyed, breaking the heavy silence that followed their escape. I don't know," Mike stumbled over the words, struggling to process the looming question. Was it a bear? Something other? His mind raced. He wanted to protect Jason from the worry, to shelter him from the gloom creeping in from the woods. "Let's just focus on getting to the car, all right?" Jason nodded, still staring back toward the edge of the forest. "But it looked kind of cool, didn't it?" "Cool?" Mike's laughter came out more nervous than lighthearted. "It looked terrifying, Jason. We should be grateful it didn't decide to come after us."
Yet, even as he said it, part of him recalled the creature's wild majesty, as if it were a guardian of the woods rather than a threat. It was a strange thought, one he knew he shouldn't indulge right now. They rounded the curve of the path, the last remnants of daylight casting long shadows, and as they moved, the hairs on Mike's neck still prickled. The sense of being watched never left him. "Do you think it will come back?" Jason's voice was quiet now, the brave facade slipping away. "Maybe, maybe not, but we will be safe in the car," Mike replied, trying to sound convincing. He tightened his grip on Jason's hand and picked up their pace. Every step confirmed that they were pulling away from the forest edge. Just as they approached the small parking area, Jason pulled away, unwrapping his fingers from his father's grasp. "I want to see it one more time. Jason!" The urgency in Mike's voice rang out. He turned, heart racing, and caught sight of his son standing still, eyes glued to the woods. "We can't. Please, let's just go home." "Just a peek," Jason insisted, his tiny feet firmly planted, expression determined. "What if it's friendly?" The innocence in his son's plea struck Mike hard. He knelt down and looked Jason in the eye. "Listen to me. There are times when curiosity can be dangerous. We have to be smart about this." He avoided a deeper explanation, the secret that there were parts of nature that were beyond our understanding, parts that went far back into history. Jason's brows furrowed. "But what if it's friendly?" Taking a deep breath, he considered that notion. What if these woods were hiding stories? What if the creature was alive with wisdom they did not possess? But that was dangerously speculative. No good could come from scrutiny when safety was at stake. "Some things in nature can look friendly, but we can't take that risk," Mike said, voice softening. Slowly, begrudgingly, Jason nodded, but the spark of relentless curiosity still lingered in those young, bright eyes. "Okay, Dad, but we will come back, right? To see if it's still there?" "Someday, I promise." As they finally climbed into the car, Mike started the engine, the familiar hum somehow soothing amid the tension, but he couldn't shake the feeling that he had just made a pact with his son to return to those woods, to confront whatever lay hidden there. The headlights pierced the darkness as they drove away, revealing the forest receding behind them, but something tugged at Mike's heart. There was a haunting sense of unfinished business, a pull toward the unknown. What if it was calling for him, not just Jason? And what if that hidden truth was about the very family he thought he knew? There was something more in those woods, something intertwined with his past. Mike could feel it, echoing through the trees. With every mile they traveled away from that clearing, a deeper pull surged within him, a need to reconcile what had once been lost.
As they merged back onto the main road, Jason's voice broke the silence. "Can we look for clues online about it tonight?" Dread mingled with hope in Mike's heart. "Yeah, sure, we can do that." He realized, deep down, that the adventure had only just begun. And as the headlights illuminated the dark road ahead, he couldn't shake the feeling that they would return to those woods sooner than expected. The question loomed larger than the shadows behind them. What awaited them there, waiting in the dark? The glow of the computer screen illuminated the small corner of Mike and Jason's living room. Books and action figures were strewn about, remnants of a long day filled with adventure. Jason bounced in his seat, the excitement dancing in his eyes. "Look, Dad, this site has a bunch of stuff about creatures in the woods." Mike forced a smile, though his heart still ached with uncertainty. "Yeah, let's see what we can find." He clicked through the various articles and images appearing on the screen, a part of him both curious and cautious. He couldn't shake the weight of the recent experience, the fleeting vision of that creature blurring in and out of his thoughts. Jason leaned forward, his fingers flying across the keyboard. "What if it's a Bigfoot or something? That would be so cool." "It'd be something all right," Mike muttered half-heartedly. He wanted to foster his son's imagination, yet the remnants of fear lingered just beneath the surface. Hours drifted by as they browsed through folklore and stories about mystical creatures said to dwell in darkened forests. The tales were incredible. Some filled Mike with an inexplicable sense of wonder, while others just deepened his concern. "Look!" Jason pointed to a grainy image of a creature, its silhouette shadowy and formidable. "Look at that one! It looks just like what we saw!" The air instantly thickened, drawing in all the unsaid worries. It could just be a trick of the light, buddy, though part of him understood why Jason found the image thrilling. He had always felt something magnetic about the untamed world, the secrets it held. But this was different. As if sensing his doubt, Jason's voice turned earnest. "But what if it's real, Dad? What if we could find it again? We could help it." "What if it helps us?" Standing in that moment, Jason beamed, his arms crossed with pride. "Then we'd be heroes, just like in the movies." A flicker of warmth surged through Mike. The innocence and unyielding determination in Jason were intoxicating. But as that feeling of hope took root, an inevitable counterweight tugged at Mike's mind. There are some things we might not be ready to handle, some things that don't want our help. "I just want to know," Jason replied, his voice steady, but layers of yearning filtered through. He turned back to the screen, absorbed by the tales of bravery and adventure.
Mike took a moment to reflect, not wanting to crush his son's spirit, but equally desperate not to ignite reckless curiosity. "Tomorrow's your birthday, right?" he ventured, hoping to shift the focus. Jason's eyes lit up, and the worry from earlier evaporated. "Yeah, I want to have a treasure hunt." "Where?" "Out there." He gestured toward the forest through the window like it was a portal to a new world. A flicker of excitement mixed with dread coursed through Mike again. "You mean near the woods?" "Sure. We could search for animal tracks or whatever those creatures might have left behind. It'll be awesome." Mike chuckled again, albeit lightly. There was an irony in how easily Jason dreamt of adventure while Mike felt the weight of potential danger. "Okay, but we'll have to set some rules, all right? Safety first, treasure second." "Yes, rules!" Jason grinned, oblivious to the swirling anxiety in Mike's chest. As the evening shadows deepened, Mike leaned back in his chair, struggling to suppress conflicting emotions. They were destined to retrace their steps into that wild unknown, wherever it led. Part of him longed for clarity, a way to reconcile his fears, while another part couldn't resist the thrill of discovery, especially if it drew him closer to his son. With Jason's birthday looming, Mike felt a soft buzz of determination in the back of his mind. Whatever lied ahead, they would face it together. Later that night, as Jason drifted off to sleep, Mike crouched by the door in thought, clutching his fingers together. It wasn't just curiosity that had drawn them back. It was something deeper, a yearning to understand. What if the forest held answers he hadn't even thought to ask? Little did they know, the true adventure awaited just beyond the tree line. What would they find when they stepped back into that world? As the moon cast its glow on the sleeping town, one unspoken question lingered. Were they prepared for what the darkness held in wait? The dawn broke gently, light filtering through the trees, illuminating the path to the woods that loomed before Mike and Jason. Their hearts raced with both anticipation and uncertainty as they packed their gear for the day. Fishing rods, snacks, and Jason's ridiculously oversized explorer hat that sat jauntily on his head. "Let's go, Dad! Today's the day!" Jason's enthusiasm was infectious. "All right, let's make some memories," Mike replied, managing a smile despite the echo of doubt in the back of his mind. As they walked through the clearing, he could feel a sense of adventure wrapping around them, pushing them to face whatever awaited beyond the shadows. Driving to the pond felt different today. The sunlight glinted off the water, casting sparkles that were almost soothing, but the presence from yesterday still lurked in Mike's mind. He couldn't shake the feeling, a sense of something stirring in the woods.
Arriving at the pond, the scene was already buzzing with other families settling in for a day of fun. Children laughed, the sound uplifting, and for a brief moment Mike thought, maybe today will be just like those peaceful afternoons of my youth. They set up by the water. Jason, still bubbling with energy, eagerly chatted with other kids. Each excited laugh was like music, pushing Mike to let go of those creeping fears. "Is this where we saw it, Dad?" Jason asked, gazing at the trees with that same spark of wonder. "Yeah, right over there," Mike pointed, his own gaze drifting to the very spot where they had encountered the unknown. But today, it was merely a shadow dancing among the leaves. "Maybe it's hiding," Jason beamed, spinning around as if trying to encompass the entire forest. "Let's focus on fishing first. We'll leave the exploring for later," Mike chuckled, the weight on his chest lifting slightly as he focused on the joy radiating from his son. After casting their lines into the water, they settled into a comfortable rhythm. Time seemed to stretch and bend around them, with laughter spilling out into the open air like sunlight through the trees. Every tug on the line ignited Jason's excitement, and Mike couldn't help but mirror that joy. But then, without warning, the blissful atmosphere shifted. A low growl echoed from the woods. A recognition shivered through Mike's spine. "Dad? What was that?" Jason's eyes widened, uncertainty creeping into his voice. Just a dog or something," Mike assured, but even he wasn't convinced. "Can we go look?" Jason asked, his adventurous spirit ignited once again. "Let's keep fishing. We're here to make memories," Mike urged, but the unease started pricking at his thoughts. "Okay, but we'll come back, right?" "Absolutely," he promised, though a lingering fear gnawed at him, uncertain of the world beyond those trees, a world that felt so close, yet so enigmatic. As they continued to fish, the afternoon sun dipped low, casting golden hues that bathed everything in light. Just when Mike thought the spell of worry was broken, a familiar flicker caught their attention. There was movement in the trees. "Look, Dad!" Jason squealed, pointing toward the spot where they had encountered the creature the day before. As Mike followed the direction of his son's outstretched hand, there it was, the creature, half hidden among the branches, its eyes glinting with an almost haunting curiosity, staring straight at them. "Stay close to me," Mike whispered, a protective instinct swelling inside him. But Jason's eyes were filled not with fear, but awe. "It's beautiful, Dad," he breathed, stepping just a fraction forward. "Don't move, Jason," Mike commanded, but he could feel Jason's fascination pulling the boy forward, away from the safety he tried to hold. Then, almost magically, the creature stepped out of the shade, revealing itself as a magnificent figure amidst the underbrush.
It was larger than they expected, fur shifting with every subtle movement. It was simultaneously majestic and intimidating, reflecting the untamed beauty of nature. "Wow, look at its antlers!" Jason's voice rose with happiness, but Mike's heart raced with a different kind of fear, one that held the weight of instinct. "Jason, let's not provoke it," Mike urged, taking a slow step backward, his instincts flaring. He wasn't sure how it would react. But Jason, filled with that unyielding hope, whispered, "Dad, it's just curious." The creature paused, its breath misting in the cool air. For a moment, the world felt suspended. Something shifted, a bridge forming between the boy with dreams of adventure and the formidable spirit standing before them. Then Mike felt it, an understanding, a resonance. Something deep within him recognized this bond, an echo of his own long-forgotten childhood ambitions. "Be brave," Jason whispered, stretching out a trembling hand, and for the first time, Mike hesitated. What if they could discover the truth hidden beneath the layers of fear and uncertainty? What if this creature was the key to unlocking the fabric of connection he yearned to weave with Jason? "Okay, bud," Mike said, the courage uncoiling within him, but slowly. With a gentle nod, Jason took one step forward, heart beating steadily in rhythm with the creature. And for a heartbeat, the world fell silent. The two generations met in that fleeting moment of pure wonder. Suddenly, the creature turned. It dashed back into the trees, vanishing into the embrace of shadows. "No, come back!" Jason cried, but Mike knelt beside him, realizing they had just ventured deeper than they had before. Mike squeezed Jason's shoulder. "It's okay. We'll come back, and maybe it will trust us next time." "Do you think it really might?" Jason's eyes gleamed with unbridled hope. "Yes, I really do." As they packed up, laughter returned. Jason's spirit felt restored. The magic of the day shifted everything around them. Mormons, layers of connection were revealed. The adventure had deepened not just into the woods, but into each other's hearts. "Next time we come, we'll have even more bait," Jason exclaimed, his enthusiasm practically bubbling over. And for the first time in a long time, Mike felt that nagging weight lift entirely, replaced by something pure and bright, a profound realization that they were embarking on an adventure that would forever change them both. As they walked back to the car, Mike glanced toward the woods one last time. A sliver of hope expanded within him, a promise of more than just understanding, but a future waiting to unfold, rich with possibilities that intertwined their strife with unwavering love. "Let's plan a treasure hunt for next weekend," Mike suggested, and Jason beamed at him. "Really? With clues and everything?" "Absolutely." As they climbed into the car, ready to navigate home, Mike's heart swelled with a new understanding. They would return to that forest, not just for the thrill, but for the connection it promised. They would face whatever awaited them, together. "We made memories today, Jason," he said, the potence of their shared experiences wrapping around them like an invisible thread. "Yes, the best!" And before the sunlight faded behind the horizon, Mike knew they had created a spark of hope, a reason to return, not just to those woods, but to the fullness of life, weaving a story about a father and son that would echo for years to come. It was time to embrace the future, to nurture the threads of healing woven between them, fishing lines not just cast into murky waters, but intertwined with dreams, adventure, and love.
This is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now to the channel and don't miss the next exclusive adventures. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and comment your thoughts and feelings about this heartfelt ending. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your engagement is vital.